On a train to Kyiv, the leaders of Britain, France and Germany. This Friedrich Merz's first trip to Ukraine as German Chancellor. A dressed-down display of solidarity when Europe is back at war 80 years after defeating a dictator. The US president was literally not on board, but this highly choreographed event was to some extent aimed at him. For these and other world leaders dialing in are determined to lock Donald Trump into a peace process which doesn't reward Vladimir Putin's aggression.
So today we'll focus on
This then the so-called coalition of the willing.
President України Володимир Зеленський.
Its message to Russia's leader: extend your current 3-day ceasefire to 30 days, starting on Monday. Keir Starmer making it crystal clear to Mr. Putin that the message is coming from Donald Trump as well.
All of us here, together with the US, are calling Putin out. If he's serious about peace, then he has a chance to show it. Now, by extending the VE-Day pause into a full, unconditional 30-day ceasefire, with negotiations to follow immediately once a ceasefire is agreed. No more ifs and buts, no more conditions and delays.
And if the Russian leader disagrees,
we will ramp up sanctions and increase our military aid for Ukraine's defence to pressure Russia back to the table.
Near Ukraine's front line, evidence of Russia's unilateral truce is far from obvious. There's a steady flow of military casualties into this field hospital, while American diplomats have said they expect what they call a potentially significant Russian air attack in the coming days. There hasn't been any ceasefire, says this soldier. The shelling continued, and the drones flew, dropping their explosives just as before. The sheer size of yesterday's World War II Victory Day parade in Moscow, including troops from the front, doesn't suggest that Mr. Putin is about to compromise. What he calls a special military operation is to him an extension of the Great Patriotic War. His spokesman Dmitry Peskov says Russia supports a 30-day truce, but that there are what he calls a large number of nuances to be resolved first. Such resolution may be harder given that Steve Witkoff, Mr. Trump's special envoy, has talked to Putin, relying repeatedly on a Kremlin translator, apparently believing that the woman beside him last month was from the US Embassy when she wasn't. Today, Europe's leaders spoke to Trump by telephone. They're relieved that they've persuaded him to back their ultimatum to Putin. And it was clear last night that his admiration for the Russian president is wearing thin.
I have a message for both parties. Get this war ended. We're losing 5,000 soldiers a week, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers, and other people also, by the way. And I say, get this stupid war finished.
The Kremlin will be especially appalled by these pictures in Kyiv's Orthodox Cathedral. Volodymyr Zelensky showing his European backers a jewel the Russians failed to capture when they invaded. Far worse for Moscow if the Americans really are prepared to join in with more sanctions, however absent they were from Ukraine today.
Well, I'm joined now from Kyiv by Dr. Alexander Mereshko, who chairs the Foreign Affairs Committee in the Ukrainian Parliament. Have you got any faith that Donald Trump will do what Sir Keir Starmer says and ramp up sanctions if Vladimir Putin turns his back on peace?
Well, I do hope that it will finally happen because President Trump promised to deliver on this. And we remain full of trust to him.
Do you think it's finally dawning on him what Vladimir Putin's really like?
He's a very experienced politician, and I believe that he understood it long before. Maybe all along he knew whom he is dealing with. But the matter is, the deeds, the actions, what he will be doing, because now the ball is in the court of Putin. And Putin should reject or agree to this ceasefire, which reminds President Trump's ceasefire proposal. And what is crucially important, what will be reaction of President Trump if Putin again rejects this proposal?
So are you expecting a firm timetable of more sanctions, of arms deliveries from the US to Ukraine?
I hope that it will happen, because this is the only way. Putin, he's not capable of negotiating in earnest and good faith. And the only way to deal him and to make him something to do, to agree to ceasefire, is to put maximum pressure by providing more weaponry to Ukraine, by imposing secondary sanctions and all kind of political, economic pressure. That's the only way to deal with him.
The problem is that whatever you say and do, Moscow seems to ignore it. I mean, Putin's ally, Dmitry Medvedev, said today, and I quote, "You can shove these peace plans up your pan-gender arses." What does that tell you?
Well, it's a very typical pattern of behavior for Putin, for his advisors, because he cannot clearly say no. He is afraid of Trump. He doesn't want to offend Trump by his rejection. On the other hand, he's trying to put it in such form, which is in essence, in fact, which is a rejection of any proposals.
Isn't the bitter truth that you need this peace more than Russia does? Their whole economy is now geared towards war. They can carry on for as long as they want, can't they?
Well, of course, we need peace, because this is about lives of our people, including our soldiers, civilians, children, women. Of course, we're interested. But on the other hand, key question, at what cost? If we're talking about peace which gives us security guarantee, yes. If we're talking about peace which will create conditions for Putin to destroy us a little bit later, which will mean death, we cannot agree to such kind of peace or ceasefire.
Just very briefly, what did it mean to you having European leaders in Kyiv today?
It's a very powerful gesture of solidarity, that we are not alone, that we continue to fight, and it boosts our morale, and it gives us hope that together we can stop Russian aggression.
Dr. Alexander Mereshko, thank you very much for joining us.